Welcome back. I believe we're up to, I'm losing count, part 14 of my door build. I think that's where we're at. Today is Friday. This is the day I usually post get this little part put up and then get all my video put together and edit it. And so I don't really get much accomplished today. I've got one program that once I get my video done, I've got to convert it into a different file format, and that usually takes over 2 hours. I don't know why it takes so long. Maybe I need to upgrade my computer. And then once I get it into that format, then I got a program that I can compress the file so it uploads faster to YouTube, and that takes about another half hour. And so then when Sunday comes and I upload it, I usually can get my files uploaded now within about 20 minutes to a half hour on YouTube. So that's why on Fridays I don't do too much. Excuse me. But I feel like I pretty much accomplished this week. Got a lot of parts assembled. Actually, the bridges are done. I just need to get them painted. I got a new airbrush coming. I'm waiting on it. It's already been a week and it's not here. I don't think it's probably going to get here until the first part of next week. I don't know where it's coming from. But I'm going to hold off on painting until I get my new airbrush. And so basically the bridges are done. I got the parts that connect the two bridges all complete. It's just, you know, I'm at a standstill until that airbrush gets here. I could paint it with my old airbrush, but I want to try out my new one. Alright, and so actually I started on the next section of this model. I've got the barrel and the breech and parts of that all assembled, all glued together. Probably I'll be having more of it assembled by the time my airbrush gets here. But yeah, I've got pretty much accomplished, I think, this week. You'll see a lot of seam lines. 2 halves of a barrel, and there's 4 sections of it. You know, just so many seam lines I had to take care of, you know, and get them straightened out. All right, so let me I got another comment from Chirikawa, and he sent me this comment, and I was just like, what? So I looked it up online, and sure enough I found it. Not that I doubted you, Chirikawa, but I got proof here for my viewers that I did find it online. Right there it is. And what this has to do with this gun is the size. He found this, I guess he was researching something on the Yamato, the battleship Yamato, the Japanese battleship. It had the largest guns of any warship ever built. 18-inch guns. Actually, they were a fraction over 18 inches. And he read this article and he sent it to me, and I was just kind of blown away about it. All right. So what this is telling me is, and I'll read this off of here for you. Due to the enormous size of the guns, that would be the 18-inch guns, all the AA guns, the anti-aircraft guns, had to be protected from the blast. So that's why when you look at that ship or any model, you'll see them anti-aircraft guns are all enclosed to protect them guys. All right. I thought it was, you know, from attacking aircraft, which it probably was. It did help. But the real reason is it protected them from the blast of them 18-inch guns, which would blow off anybody's skin within a 15-meter radius. So if you was out there on that deck, within 15 meters comes out to be about 50 feet. If you was out on that deck within a 50-feet radius of them big guns going off, it would blow your skin off. Youch! I'll bet that made for a bad day. I just wonder how they tested that. I'm probably tied up some pigs on the deck or something and fired them guns. I don't know. But I imagine that would definitely make your day. So anyway, he sent me that because if an 18.5 or an 18.1 inch gun would do that, this Dora barrel is supposed to shoot a shell, I believe, if I did my research right, about 33.5 inches, almost 33.5 inches shell out of that barrel. So if you're within 50 feet of an 18-inch shell and it's going to rip your skin off, what's this thing going to do? Now granted, the barrel was 106 feet long on this, a little over 106 feet long. So you might be outside of that radius because it's actually going to be a bigger radius for a bigger shell. But that probably would explain why it took so long to reload, because everybody had to go scatter, go hide, get behind a tree when they fired this thing, and then they all have to scatter back and get on and reload it. Because they said it took anywhere, I've seen everything from about 20 minutes to 45 minutes to reload the barrel. Well, it took 20 minutes for them to get off and get back on. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of interesting, and I'd share that with you guys. Chiricahua sent that to me again. You know, I just can't imagine being out there by one of them barrels and ripping your skin off. Youch. Alright, so let's get the camera turned around. I just thought that was a little bit of interesting facts. Let's get the camera turned around and I'll show you what I've been up to all week. And Molly's feeling better. Took her down there Thursday. She got her stitches out. Did not want that guy touching her hind leg. Boy, she come alive. But we got our stitches out. She's fine. She's running around like nothing ever happened. Okay, here we go. Enough babbling on. Let's get back to the model and I'll show you where I'm at. Alright, hold on. Stop the presses. What do I got up there? Something I've been wanting to talk about, and I keep forgetting. Every time I get done filming something, I forgot to talk about this. And I just thought it was kind of interesting. You know how the German war machine was? They, I guess you could say they were into a lot about symbolism. You know, their flag was everywhere, posted on everything. I don't know what it was called. I guess it was called the Iron Cross. It was black and white, whatever. That was all over everything, all over their planes, submarines, whatever, their trucks, tanks. What I noticed about this, there's no German insignias or anything on here. All the decals are more or less instructional about the gun. But nowhere do you see a swastika or the Iron Cross or anything. There's no symbol on here to really show that it is a German gun. And from what I understand, this gun was put under the charge of the Wehrmacht. I guess that's how you say it, Wehrmacht. But I just thought it was kind of interesting that there was no kind of markings on it. You look at the Bismarck; they had the big swastika on the bow and on the stern of the ship. I mean, you talk about advertising from the sky. I mean, once you saw that, you knew it was the enemy. But yeah, everything I've ever seen that was German built, you know, had some type of insignia on it to show that it was German. I don't see nothing on this, and I didn't see anything in all my research, and so I don't know. I just thought it was kind of strange, you know, something this big, that they didn't have something on it that said, hey, this is mine. Okay, with that, I'm sorry I interrupted. I know guys are going, hey, get on with the model. Okay, here it comes. Let's get over to the desk for sure this time. Just think about that though. See if you can find anything on it. Okay, here we go. Start of another week. Let's start with this over here. I got all these little pieces here added to these small bridges. Alright, I've already test fit them and everything, and it took the rock. If you watched my last video how they were rocking sideways, that took that out of there. Alright, so I got all those done, and you can see from the inside I painted them just on that one side because this will rest on that car and you'll never see it, and I'm not going to be gluing them. Alright, the bridges, they are I would say mostly complete. I went ahead and let me get my little finger, got the ladders on, finally got them on right here, and once again got to turn this around so I can see what you're seeing. Alright, so I got them ladders on. There's one here and one on the other end. Here's the other one, and one piece of the railing. I got, like I said, I got more railing goes back on the front up here. I got some railing goes up here yet. Alright, so those are pretty much done. I got them setting out of the way. What I'm starting on now, and you can see all the pieces I got laid out for it, is, I don't know what they call them, but it's these things here. I got to make these things. Alright, and there's one goes in the front and one goes in the back, and where they go are on the inside these large bridges. One will go up here, it'll fit from here back to here, and the other one will go back here and fit from there up to there. Alright, and then these boxes, they will fit right in here, one there and one up here, and this is what connects everything together. Alright, so I'm in the process. What I want to do is get these things built. Alright, get these things built, and there is a difference in them. These little parts here are different than the ones in the back. C is the front, D is the back, and that part is different, so I have to pay attention to that. Let me see, they show you here how they go on. Right here, this is the front. That front one will go up there, and the back one will go back there. And then my boxes will go in, okay, and then everything gets joined together. These here, there's one on each bridge on the inside, so there'll be one on this bridge and then one on the other bridge. As you can see here, there's one and there's one, and then they will be joined together. The boxes will be put in there, and that will bring my two bridges together. But what I'm going to do is, because of the painting situation, I'm going to go ahead and paint these boxes first, get my decals on them. I'm going to go ahead and paint these things right here. I'll paint these, and then I'll paint my bridge and then assemble it that way. I don't want to put these on and try and paint it because I got to try and get in here and everything. So it'll be easier painting these off of the model. And once I get everything painted, then I can assemble it. Alright. So that will be my next thing to do. Because see, once you get it all assembled, alright, then it gets put onto the cars. So that's where I'm at. So I got to get all these parts cleaned up, okay, and start putting pieces together. get these things made. There'll be 4 of these made. Like I said, 2 on each car. Now, you know how I am about counting parts. I still got the railings to get. I think there's 3 sections of railing for each one. So I got that figured in. This right here, this large bridge and the other one, the biggest thing was the valves. There was 220 of them. So, but all the parts that went on here come up to be 454 parts, okay, that go on these bridges. And then you add these up, and these boxes, you add all this up, and you get another 73 parts. So once the 2 bridges go together and they are completed as one unit, there's going to be 527 parts, and that's a rough estimate because I might have missed some on them bridges. So a rough estimate is 527 parts for this. And if you remember, on the railroad cars, what was it, 458. So, but these, you know, there was no problem with putting this together. It went together within, you know, as much, if I counted days, it would be about 5 days it took me to do these 2 bridges. And now I got to do this. So we're up to almost 1,000 parts, okay? And I still got 2 more sections of this model to put together. The gun carriage and all that stuff in the back where they raise the shells up and everything. So you can see where you get a big parts count at. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead. I know it's who wants to watch me, you know, cut all these little pieces off, sand them down, glue them together, and all that. So when I get this all done, we'll be back. All right. This might, I don't know, I might be fooling around with this tomorrow too, but I'm going to try and get some of the parts cleaned up and see how far I get. All right, we'll be back. All right, we left off. I had all these pieces laying on my desk, and I had to assemble these 2 pieces here, these 2, whatever you want to call them, braces for the gun, I guess, that holds it together. There is a C and a D, and let me tell you, you have to follow these directions perfectly, because this here gets oriented like this on C and then turned around on D. And this little section up in here is different on C than on D, so you have to pay attention to that. And one of these has a slight bend in it, okay, and then you can't tell from the directions which way the bend goes. But once you start getting it together, you'll figure it out that the bend goes a certain way to go around this opening here. So you have to be real careful how you assemble these, or they won't go together right. Okay, so let me show you one of them that I got together. Alright, let me get this over here and see if I can get it in view. Let me see what, step behind the camera and see what you're seeing. There it is. Okay, and they go together in such a way, there's pins go through here so that you glue the pins and they will swivel. Everything will move. These 2 pieces here will move, these 2 arms will move, and these 2 feet will move. So you got a little something like that. Okay, so this one is still setting up. This is my last one. So let me move the bridge over here. I got it partially assembled, but nothing's glued together. So let me move the bridge over. Alright, like I said, nothing's glued. I'm just dry fitting everything. So you can see I got the box in there. This is the front of the gun. The box is sitting in there. And two of these. This one is C and this one is D. And then on the back it's the same way, C and D. And they come together. Once you get the box in there, the box will have to go in first. And then these two join together. Okay. And then there's a little piece here. Let me see if I can find it. There's a little piece right here. Bring it up. Little piece right there. That goes on the top here and holds these together. Alright. Plus, there's, where's it at? Right here it is. You can see that there's a slot there, and then on the other one there's a pin that goes in that slot. So that's how they go together. Alright, and like I said, I just got everything dry fit right now. I got the one of them on the back, making sure they fit into the holes. Right there it is. And then I got to try this other one, make sure it fits. So I'm going to disassemble this. And let me back out some. Alright, so I'm going to disassemble this once I try dry fitting this other one. And I'm going to paint these parts, this here and the box. I'm going to go ahead and get these painted. As you can see how tough it would be trying to spray inside of there. Okay, and get all this done. So I'm going to paint these, get these ready to go, and then I'll paint the bridges. Still got to get them railings on up here yet. There's, I think, 3 sections of railing go on up here. But I was holding off on that because I'm messing around up here and I don't want to knock them railings off. So once I get it, you know, pretty close to where everything's lined up, then I can put them railings on and paint them railings with the bridge. So that's where I'm at. That's the next step. Get these painted, get this painted, and then clear coat it and get my decals on here. I think there's decals go on both sides. I'm not sure, I have to look. Once again, I'm not that far yet. But that's the next step. And maybe by the end of this video, I doubt it, because I ordered me a new airbrush and I'm waiting on it to get here. So we might not see this assembled until next week. I ordered that airbrush Friday. Today is the 4th of July, Tuesday. So it might not be here for a few days. So we'll see. If it gets here in time, we'll get it painted, and I don't know if we'll have it assembled or not, because then I got to wait for everything to dry real good. Alright, so that's where we're at. That's what we're up to. Once I get done with this and get this assembled, this section will be done. And let me see. Let's see here. Then they show setting it on the rail cars. And then I start with the some of the gun carriage stuff. All this down here, I'll get up to here then. Start assembling the breech and a lot of the recoil mechanism for the gun. So we're moving right along. Yeah, that, you know, get this together, get it painted, get it together, and then we go on to the gun mechanism, the gun and all that up on top. That'll be the next thing. Alright, so that's it for right now. I can go ahead and get this stuff painted though with my old airbrush. I would like to have the new airbrush to do the bridges. Okay, that's it for now. Alright, here we are. Went ahead, got my boxes painted, primered and painted. Got these little things primered and painted. You might see some clear plastic there because that's where they join together. I want to clean this one up a little bit. So when I got two real good surfaces for gluing together. But yeah, got inside the box. You can see it's kind of shiny. I just put 2 coats of clear on it so I can get my decals on there. Now what happened was, when I was primering, I had some extra primer left over, about a half a cupful, and I thought, well, instead of dumping that out, what I done was, and the same way with the paint, when I was done painting, I had extra paint left over, so instead of throwing it away, I went ahead and I can't set that like that, but I went ahead and primered and painted the bottom part of these large fridges here, because if you remember, I can't set this down because of them ladders on there, because you remember I was going to take this large clamp here and hold that so I could paint it out in the garage. Well, give this a couple days to dry, and let me grab a hold of it. I'll be able to grab a hold of it now down here on the bottom and not have to worry about painting that and touching it up, because I already got it done. So I did that on both of them. Got the bottom part painted on both of them. So that worked out pretty good. Having that extra little paint left over, I thought, well, let's do this. So now I'll be able to hold, like I said, hold on to it when I'm trying to paint the rest of it. Okay, so I think we got to go somewhere for a little cookout and give this a day or two to dry up and get my decals on here. There's the phone ringing. I think that's our signal. So that's where we're at. That's what I'm up to. Like I said, I'm going to wait for that new airbrush to come before I paint this rest of this bridge, because it's pretty tough trying to, man, like I said, you got to turn it every which way you can think of to try and get every part of that thing covered. Alright, I think that's it for this section. Okay, so here's where I'm at next day. I got my decals on them boxes. Now, in the directions, they show these decals fitting between these 2 holes. They show them a lot smaller than what they are. It wouldn't work. If I was to put them decals between them 2 holes, I would have lost part of the lettering, the bottom part of it. So I had to slide them over a little bit to each side. You can see how close it is. I can get it out of the light, whatever. I just barely got that last letter right on the edge of that hole, and the top of this lettering on the edge of that hole. So they had to be slid over to the side a little bit to make them fit. And you can see on the side, when I primered and painted this, I had a couple pieces of tape here on both sides, so that when these get glued in, I got a mating surface right here I can put some glue on, give me some more strength on gluing these in. I did that on both of them. Alright, and then I got my railings on. Now I hope I ain't jumping the gun. Get it? Jumping the gun? By putting these railings on, because I'm up to step 21 with this being completed, and this, like I said, is the very last step, 40, to put these 3 sections of railing on. I want to get them on there so when I go to paint, I can get it all painted at one time. So I don't think there's anything up here other than trying to get these on. I'll have to be real careful when I go to put these things on that I don't bump them railings. I don't think that's going to be much of a problem. I'll just have to be super careful. So, you know, the thing was, they had you put this back railing on, but they wanted you to wait until step 40 to put these 3 on. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Maybe there's a reasoning for it. Hope I didn't, gonna make it rough on myself. I also have 4 of these little things. Let me show you these. 4 of these little things. Where's my black background here? They look like that. Okay? And they go on the outside. They go down here on the outside. One in the front, one in the back. Okay? Sort of like that. I would really love to get them on right now because, like I said, I like gluing bare plastic together. It's a much stronger bond. The problem is when it comes to fit these things together with these rail cars, these smaller bridges, these stick out under this railing. Okay? And that might make it difficult for me to put these together. I would have to be super careful because they got to go through that railing. So I think I'm going to hold off on these until I get these cars mounted onto them. Those larger bridges on the smaller bridges, and then put this in there. And then I can hand paint it. I'll just paint it with a brush. But I think that's the best way to go. It'll be easier on myself than sticking these on there right now and waiting and then trying to get that on there. I don't know. I'm going to think about this real good. I'm going to study it. But I think I might be holding off on these. It's just 4 little parts. Probably be easier on me to hold off, but we'll see. You know me, I might change my mind. So, while I am waiting, all I got to do now is just, get these larger bridges painted. Okay? I'm going to let this glue set up on these railings for a while. But I'm waiting on that new airbrush to get here. I don't know where it's coming from. I ordered it on Amazon. And the thing was, about a month ago, it was $5 cheaper. The price jumped up. But I did find another, how these people got stores on Amazon. And I got it off there. I saved myself about $5. But I don't know where it's coming from, and it's taken a while to get here. It says it might not be here until the end of the week. So, what I'm going to do in the meantime is go ahead and let me get to the right page here. Get back to where I was at. Start on all this stuff down here. This is all part of the gun carriage and everything. And the breech. I'll get started on all this. Get all these pieces glued together because a lot of it is 2 halves, and I know I'm going to have a seam line, so I'm going to have to work on all them. And then what do you got? Yep, then you go into the gun itself and the carrier for the gun. So we're getting there. That's going to be a few steps in itself, just getting that carrier part together. And then it shows you mounting it. Alright, so I'm going to get started getting all these pieces cut off of the sprues, getting them all laid out, and we'll go from there. And you can see, here's one thing I wanted to show you, where I put them pieces of tape there, so I got bare plastic. I also took the corresponding part here where they go onto these bridges and put a couple pieces of tape there that will leave me bare plastic after I paint it. And I'll just pull that tape off, and then I can have a mating surface that is bare plastic. Taped off this little piece up here. Here's the one for the front box. So yeah, I'm a firm believer in trying to glue bare plastic to bare plastic. I know they say you can glue painted parts together, but I don't trust it. You know, I'd rather have bare plastic. Alright, so that's it for this section. Alright, here we are back, another day. You can see I've been working on this section of the barrel. The breech, here's the breech. It will go back here. Alright, and the barrel will come out this end. And that's all the barrel sitting right here. So, I've been working on this. Been working on it for 2 days because I got so many seam lines. So many pieces came together that you were left with a seam line. So none of this is glued. Alright, I got a couple pieces glued, these on the side, but most of this is apart because I want to primer this separately. So this comes off of here. Alright, this comes off of there, and this comes off of here, and then I'll be able to primer this seam and see what I got. Primer some of these seams, and might have to do a little more sanding. Alright, but there was just so many seam lines. 2 pieces came together here. I believe, yeah, 2 pieces came together there. 3 pieces for this, and they all had seam lines. Now, a little thing I found that helped me out on my seam lines is let me take this part of the barrel here. You know, when you cut it off with a sprue, you're left with that little nib on there. All right, there's 2 there, and 2 there, and then 4 on the other half of this. And what I found, which makes it a lot easier for me, is don't, you know, I cut it off with the sprue, and I leave a little piece there, and then I come along and cut that little piece off. All right. Now, normally I would take and sand that down, get that smooth. But I found it much easier if you leave it alone until you get the 2 halves together. Just make sure there's nothing on the inside here on this flat part that will impede these 2 coming together. So you just got to make sure I can feel a little roughness there. Just lightly hit it. I don't want to hit it real bad. Alright. And then what happens is you put these 2 halves together, all right, glue them up, and then you've got one big piece right there. Now you can sand that and get it smooth. Because if you attack it earlier, if you attack it now, go after that, this is what happens. And I don't know if you're going to see that or not. Let me get these 2 together on this breech. Alright, you sand that, and ever so slightly, I don't care how careful you are sanding it, you will take off a nanometer off of that line, that piece that gets glued together, and you wind up, if you can see that little hairline gap right there, a little hairline gap right there, if you can see it, that's what happens. But if you wait until you get these 2 halves together and then get it and then sand it, you don't wind up with that hairline little gap there where you sand it. I don't care how careful you are sanding, you will wind up with a little spot there where the 2 don't come together completely. So I found it much easier to wait until I get them glued up and they set up, and then come back and attack this seam line and get these little nibs off. And then I also found out what I do is, you know, once it's glued together and set up, and I come along and sand, you got that real fine dust. It's super fine dust. And I'd leave it there. And what I do is I come back along with my extra thin cement right over that seam with that real fine dust, and it kind of acts like a filler. Alright, that glue will melt that real fine dust, and it will kind of act like a filler and help fill that in. Alright, then I sand it again. And then I come along with my surface primer and put up a line of it down there, and then I sand that again. And then I'll come along and primer it and see what it looks like. Probably need to sand it again. So to really get rid of this seam line, you got about 4 or 5 steps to go through. But like I said, I found it much easier just to leave them little nibs on there until you get it together and then take them off, and you won't wind up with these little gaps like I showed you. No matter how hard I squeeze that together, I mean, it's a hairline. It's just right there and there, hairline thick, that I can see a little opening that has to be filled. But if you wait and sand them off, you won't have that problem. Alright, so this is what I'm up to. I'm going to get the rest of the barrel put together, and then I'll do a little, I have to let it set for about an hour or so before I can sand on it. And then, like I said, I'll reapply some more cement, sand on it again, and so on. So I'm putting the barrels together, and I'm supposed to be putting the breech together. I got to get this all together. I believe those weights go in there and everything. So quite a few steps on just doing this breech. And I was trying to dry fit it in the end of here, and it's a very tight fit, so I'm going to have to work on it. Oh, there's 2 things that line up. Okay, so I have to watch for that, because you don't want to force this in there, because it'll force your 2 halves apart. So it needs to be worked on just a little. Oh, there it goes. It's starting to go. But I need to work on it just a little bit. Probably clean up this edge in here so it goes together. And once I get this done, then I'll have the barrel all done. So what's today? Today is Thursday. I doubt that my spray gun, my new air gun, is going to be here in time to do anything. I could do some primering on this. I might do that tomorrow. And when I'm putting these 2 halves together of anything like this that are round, and the best way to hold them 2 together, rubber bands. Forget the clamps, use rubber bands. A lot of times you put a clamp on there and it's too tight, and it'll squeeze it and make it oblong. So rubber bands are the best way to go for 2 halves, 2 round halves. Alright, so yeah, let me get these barrels together, and that'll probably be it for the rest of this day, because once I get them done, then I start on the carriage for the barrel, this here. Then I'll start on that. Alright, that's it. I think that's all I got to tell you right now. Yep, that's it. That's it for this section. Okay, I think this is going to be the end of this video. It's 9:30 at night. This is a couple hours later since when I was just on there. I had to take a break, get something to eat. But you can see I got my barrels together. Got the rubber bands around them, like I said, okay, to hold them. All 3 sections. This one too would be section 4. And I got my breech together. Alright, I do have 2 little bitty small pieces that go on here, and they're pretty fragile, so I'm going to hold off and wait on them. They go right on here, 1 on each side, and they're pretty delicate. So I'm going to hold off on them until I get this sanded. Get this sanded down smooth. You can see where I got that primer surfacer on there and down that seam. this breech now. They give you some metal weights. I wish I would have shown them to you, but I didn't. But they give you some metal weights. And right here they are in the directions. There's 3 of them here that go inside the breech. There's 2 there together and 1 over on the other side. And then there's a whole stack of them right over here that get stacked inside of this thing. Okay? And they're in there pretty good and tight. And the reason they give you them weights is so when you got your barrel on there, you can lift it up to like it was firing, and it will hold that position because it'll be counterbalanced with these weights. Now they said to super glue these weights in there. I see no reason why. They're not going nowhere, but you can hear them. But who's going to be shaking this thing, you know? And then this part of the breech with the other weights in here, see, it goes in like this, will slide in here. Okay, and now that thing weighs about, it's heavy, let me tell you that. And you can see it closes it off, and then if you push it back this way, we'll open it up like that to where you can put the shell in there. All right, but I think it's going to be stowed like that. It'll be in there. I don't know if I'll glue it in there or not. I haven't got there yet. But yeah, I got the breech together and the barrels together. Now this barrel, all right, here we go. This one goes in here, and it's not a very tight fit, so I'm going to have to make sure I get this glued up nice and good. That one goes in there. This one goes in here. And then this one goes in here. And then the breech here goes on this end back here. Where are we at? Goes back here, if you can see that. But you can see how long this barrel is going to be. So it's just a matter of making sure it gets glued together good and solid so it's straight as an arrow. I'll have to be real careful with that. You know, everything else is such a tight fit. I mean, this breech, I still got to do some sanding on it because it's a super tight fit. But then when it comes to the barrel, that's a loose joint. This is a loose joint. So I'm going to have to get these together and make sure I get them nice and straight. So what I'm about to do is take off my rubber bands and start sanding on this seam, on these 3 sections of barrel, and sand this around back here on this breech, and then get me some more glue on it. Like I said, once I sand, I'll get that real fine powder and put another bead of glue on it, and then I think I'm going to walk away for tonight, and then tomorrow I'll be putting some of this on the barrel and letting it set up, because Friday, which is tomorrow, is usually my day when I edit all my video and get it all together, get it ready for download on Sunday. Usually on Saturday I don't mess with it, so Friday, you know, whatever I'm at on Friday is when I call it quits. The airbrush still has not come, so even if it came tomorrow, I'm not going to mess with it until next week. So it'll probably be next week before I get to primer and some of this stuff. Alright, so I think that's going to be it for this week. Yeah, can't do much of anything else other than just a bunch of sanding and primering, but that's going to have to wait. Alright, well, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week.